Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming into today's session, which is the Economic Times and Cisco presents the Inflection Point. Uh, Today we're going to talk about digital dexterity, but I'll come to that a little later. Before let me lay down the ground. Why are we doing this discussion? You know, while it is true that COVID-19 has taught us to do most things differently, experts believe that technology will now play a key role or a major role of being the biggest leveler, contrary to its earlier role of being an enabler. Successful leaders will now seize the opportunity to advance a new trajectory for digital transformation that aligns with the changing role of business and mold their organizations into a resilient enterprise. There are several positive impacts of having a resilient technology infrastructure, including work from anywhere, collaborating from any device, managing from anywhere, and maximizing experience and productivity. Today, these change agents of enterprises are chief information officers or chief digital officers. With technology becoming a major enabler for businesses, the role of the CIO is evolving from technology experts to a business strategist. According to research reports, CIOs are now responsible for around 40% of digital transformation in any corporate entity. Another research shows that 40% of the CIOs are responsible for digital transformation, while 27% of the CEOs are present in the same list. As businesses and business leaders continue to innovate to keep their operations profitable, the Economic Times Inflection Point is an effort to understand, hear, and gather insights from these change agents of large corporates or entities on how they are making their organizations future ready. The platform will look at key issues such as building business resiliency, employer-employee relations, strategy discussions, and the role of technology in beating the crisis across various sectors. Today's theme is digital dexterity, building business resiliency against future shocks. And with this, let me welcome all the speakers and introduce them. We have Mr. Subrata De, who is the Executive Vice President of IT and Group CIO for Godrej and Godrej Consumer Products. We have Mr. Alok Khanna, who is the Executive Director of Information Systems, Indian Oil Corporations. We have Mr. Rajiv Chandra, who is the CIO of Hindustan Petroleum Corporation. And we have Mr. Jayant Lahiri, who is the Executive Vice President, Global CIO of First Source Solutions Limited. We have Mr. Chetan Trivedi, who is the CIO of Vedanta Resources Limited. And we have Mr. Kunal Kaul, Director, Enterprise Business, Cisco India and SAARC. And to lead today's discussion, we have Mrs. Deepti Sagar, Partner, Digital Customer and Marketing, Deloitte, Touche Tomatsu, India. Deepti, over to you to carry forward with today's discussion.
Thank you, Anirban. Thank you so much. And good afternoon, everybody. I couldn't have agreed with you more, Anirban, on what you said and the inflection that has happened. As they say, what could have been done in years actually happened in days. And that's what COVID really taught. All the digital transformation and bringing IT enablement and bringing IT to the core has always been on the charters, but it just got accelerated. If I look at some of the research points, it says that in last 6 months, 5 to 6 months, 70% of the corporate boards have actually approved increase or acceleration in the IT and digital spend. 70% of the corporate boards have gone ahead and done that. And if you look at it from any perspective, right, whether it is businesses have realized that by bringing technology to the core, they can significantly reduce their cost of operations and bring in agility and competitive advantage. Small businesses have realized there are newer models that can open up, and there are new avenues. There's more diversity in workforce that is coming in. Technology businesses are booming. There's a whole new market for them, and they're growing. So entire economics, you look at from any perspective today, actually for this sector and for the businesses is making sense. And at the core of this is this set of CIOs who will really make this happen and work through it. So with this, I want to just start the conversation. And Mr. Chandra, I would like to start with you first. 23rd March, lockdown happened, and suddenly remote and distributed workplace became a reality, which was such a heated and debated topic. It became a reality. It became default for everybody, right? And how you as a CIO coped with it, right? And how have you maintained productivity, collaboration, and security, which are the core requirements from a business to work effectively despite being remote and distributed across locations?
Thanks, Deepti. So as you said, COVID actually was in some ways an inflection point uh, for accelerating the changes. See, the trends were already visible in the medium term, not only in the technology industry, which was used to working from anywhere, but in very, very traditional industries like oil industry itself. We had been moving to remote working. We had been moving to sort of a lot of online meetings anywhere. Somebody sitting in the car, somebody sitting in the parking, and things like that was happening. But it was still not something seen as the default way of working. And suddenly, the 23rd March and accompanying announcements related to oil industry, some three free cylinders to be given. And it was a total chaos at that point of time. And in that chaos, oil industry had to actually deliver maybe 30-40% extra within 10 days. It was a very different ball game compared to other industries. And that is when we sort of put all our heads together. The entire industry came together, and within each oil company, the topmost management supported us, and we could actually sort of hit the ground running. One advantage, of course, as HPCL, we had invested substantially into online platforms, collaboration platforms. We had 400 plus VC endpoints itself. And the top management was used to working on those platforms, taking decisions. The change what we felt and which really improved our productivity was that pre-COVID, these online platforms were supplementary to the physical meetings. And physical meetings always had their challenges of scheduling. Somebody has to travel. So a meeting which would typically take, let's say, 72 to 96 hours to schedule would get scheduled in 30 minutes, right? So I have crashed my decision-making process by 4 days. Schedule the meeting in 30 minutes, take the decisions, go ahead and implement. This, I think, was one realization that suddenly dawned upon us, that it is not about enabling a meeting or enabling collaboration. It is actually about productivity. Take quick decisions, implement, correct, get more and more people on board while taking decisions. Physically, there was always a challenge. And just right now, we have this SERA week going on. In SERA week, typically HPCL may nominate around 30, 40 people, 50 people. This time we have nominated 200 people. Right? So these are the kind of new paradigms which have opened up with just adoption of this new technology.
Right, sir. So you spoke a very valid point. I think a lot of us realized a lot of productivity in terms of non-valued activities got eliminated, and that led to it. And then technologies obviously scaled it up. Mr. Dey, if I bring in you here, while Mr. Chandra spoke about collaboration and driving the workforce productivity, at the same time, from a business perspective, in a digital transformation setup, and as he mentioned, something that Indian businesses were already taking on, they were already at the cusp of it, right? Right. How have you seen the role of some of the exponential technologies, whether it's IoT, cloud, etc., right? I mean, cloudification, virtualization, these are words that have become norms now. How did you see, have you seen a sudden boost in the last 5 months, or that trajectory was always on? And what kind of, if you could share some examples of how you are using this exponential technology in your business to make BAU and, helping businesses grow during these times?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So first of all, thanks, Dipti. Thanks, Economic Times, for having me here. And good afternoon to everyone once again, right? But before I answer your question, Dipti, I thought it will be very important, if I give probably a couple of minutes of short brief about our company, so that everybody is clear about the context, because for everything there's a context, right? Everything what we do, there'll be a context, right? So Godrej Consumer Products, as you know, it's a large, consumer goods company, consumer products goods company, having presence in multiple geographies. We have operations in more than 15 countries, across the globe. So India, SAARC, Latin America, US, then Indonesia, then multiple countries in Africa, right? We deal with, predominantly three categories. So home care products, personal care, and hair care. Now, when you say home care products, like, many of you, in fact, most of you will be using some of our products like Good Night, Heat, and all of that, right? These are all household products, right? Which everybody uses, right? And similarly, we have got in personal care, we have got your soaps, detergents, and all sorts of things, like, Godrej #1, then Synthol, all these products are known products in India, right? Every household uses those kind of products. In hair care, we have got hair color, then hair creams, that's called wet hair products. But in Africa, we have got typically a different kind of products, which is called dry hair, which is basically more of a synthetic hair. In African geographies, like, people have a shorter hair, and then generally people have that aspiration to have different kind of a hairstyle and all that. So therefore, we also manufacture there, like, that synthetic hair, the dry hair products, which has got a very large market over there, right? So as a result of this kind of product portfolio, as you understand, like, we deal with very large number of distributors, retail outlets, and then obviously we cater to very large number of customers across the globe, correct? Yeah, and also therefore we need to have many manufacturing footprints, right? We have got many manufacturing units in all these geographies, right? Now, coming back to now your question, on some of these technologies. So these technologies, the digital technologies of IoT, AI, ML, VRAR, RPAs, and mobility solutions, and all of that, those have been there for the last few years. Okay, it's not that something what has come suddenly it has come, right? So it has been there for the last 2-3 years, and I'm sure, like, most of the companies have been actually trying and experimenting some of the solutions, and then trying to scale up, and so on and so forth. But what has happened in the last 7-8 months, right? People have actually fast forwarded, as you rightly said in the beginning, right? People have really fast forwarded, because what is the focus areas? Like, the last 7-8 months, everybody has realized the focus area is basically how do you actually drive sales growth, because that was a problem for many companies, right? During that lockdown period, people have realized cost optimization. How do you actually manage your costs in a much better way, right? So I think those are the focus areas for everybody. And how can you actually improve, therefore, productivity of people? How can you make sure that, okay, people are able to work when they are not in office, but remain productive? Yeah, all of that actually, have driven this, fast forwarding this adoption of these technologies, right? And all these technologies have got tremendous potential, as all of us know very clearly, right? So in our company, so therefore, like, what we did is basically we have been doing this, implementing these technologies for the last 2-3 years, as I said, like, but many of those are at a different stage of implementation, right? Some of this, like, say, for example, IoT. We started implementing IoT in our manufacturing unit earlier. So we did that for energy consumption, management, right? So and we have got a lot of benefits in those areas, right? We are using IoT for our factory to reduce wastages, right? We are using IoT to improve, factory lines productivity, right? So these are the clear things what we see benefits in that. Apart from that, so those things were going on even earlier. Now what has happened? Those have been fast forwarded, and now we are moving in a much faster pace. On top of that, what we have also done, I think this is where I think many companies are also relooking at things, right? When companies are looking at different business models, right? Now we are also seeing, like, can I use IoT in my product to understand the customer's usage pattern, right? How the customers are using our products, right? When do they use it? Like, how frequently they use it, right? So those kind of things are also, like, getting explored, which probably, would not have been done, at such a faster pace, like, like what is happening now. That is one part. Then there are several other technologies, like, when you talk about exponential technology, there are several other technologies which are people. As I said, like, cost optimization, like, managing costs better is one of the topmost priority for every business. So therefore, I think robotics process automation, right? How can you actually eliminate some of the routine, mundane work which is done by people, right? Can it be done by, the RPA, right? And we have found several cases in our business environment, and in fact, in the last 6-7 months, we have been able to actually identify many cases, right, where whether it's finance, whether it's procurement, whether it's in sales, basically order management, reporting of entire MIS, entire service help desk, right? How do you make sure, you don't need, because today what has happened, you can't have people in office, right? So how can you actually make sure, the RPA does some of this work, right, automatically, and then you have manual intervention only when it is needed, right? So I think it is finding out much more smarter way to use some of this technology, okay, and make sure that you reap benefits of. And by doing that, we see that we have been able to save thousands and thousands of man hours of human effort. And not only that, it has helped us to actually improve our employees' experience as well as customer experience, right? So that's one piece. Then there are several other technologies, like, say, for example, digital twins. How can you apply some of those technologies, to find out, optimization opportunity in the factory environment, right? In a manufacturing layout, look at your manufacturing layout and do certain simulations using some of this technology. So it opens up a very, very different kind of scenarios. So you can try out and then see that, okay, how it can actually help you, and then you can actually optimize certain things, right? So we are actually seeing a lot of benefits in some of those areas as well. Then there are areas like, say, for example, AI, ML, etc. Right? Now, I see increased adoption of AI, ML, specifically ML in various parts of business. Like, say, for example, how do you do your forecast, right? How do you actually predict? How do you suggest? Some of that actually, which was done mostly by retail companies earlier, now has been adopted by even manufacturing companies, like, when you are actually selling to your retailers, and so on and so forth, right? So I think I see there is a tremendous opportunity in these areas, I think, and I see that, okay, companies are actually really, embracing it at a much faster pace than ever before. Yeah. And then also there are new things, like, say, for example, you talked about, during this COVID period, like, the social distancing and all of that, right? Now, in the factory environment, how can you actually manage your operations without having so many people, right? Like, so I think some of these technologies will be quite useful. And also, like, things like intelligent bot, interactive bots, all of that, I think, are playing a, major role in various kind of companies, and we are no exception. And in our company, actually, we are trying most of these technologies. Things which we have not even tried at this point in time is blockchain. I believe, like, that is another technology, emerging technology, which has got a tremendous growth potential. But I think, those kind of technologies, what happens, like, you need more investment and you need longer period, right? But some of the other technologies, what I spoke about, like, IoT, RPA, then your, this intelligent bots and all of that. These are all technologies which actually you can try out very quickly, and then see the benefits, and then you can scale it up much faster.
Absolutely. So thanks, Mr. Dev. I mean, clearly, I think the message that elements like IoT, automation, AI, and analytics has always been big for us in India, right? You're seeing that is scaling up. And you spoke about digital twins, right? Which is to say a very advanced form of machine learning and others to use in manufacturing setup and how to look at it. If I just take that concept and, Mr. Khanna, if I can get you into the conversation now, very different sector, right? Mr. Khanna represents from IOCL. And I know, Mr. Khanna, you've been holding the reins of digital transformation within IOCL. So some of these technologies that Mr. Day spoke about, how have you seen its deployment and which of these technologies have you seen an inflection or a change post-COVID or during this time, and you believe will continue to sustain for some time?
Well, thank you very much for calling me to participate in this discussion, and I'm very delighted to interact with such a esteemed panel. And, by the way, Indian Oil is the largest public sector undertaking which is into the refining, pipeline transportation and marketing of the petroleum product. So we deliver transportation products and cooking products, lubricants, petrochemicals, and lot many other products to you and to the industries. And I will start with one very interesting example. Recently we deployed a chatbot for our customers. So, and after 15-20 days, 2 to 3 weeks, what we found was that the consumption on chatbot was going very high by customers. Backend, we analyzed and we found that there were many LPG customers who were not getting their subsidy into their bank accounts, and they were hitherto logging in their grievances to call centers, and then call center was replying to them after analyzing it, and which was getting resolved through self-service mode in the bot, and the call center calls were getting tremendously reduced. So, I mean, these technologies, the newest technologies, you will deploy, but you will never know. You will realize their importance or their effect or their benefit. Maybe we never expected a bot to resolve the to reduce the load on call center. So this is how the effect of these technologies are, and as far as Indian Oil is concerned, I will definitely say that we are into the digital since long. So the prime example of being digital is the implementation of the direct benefit transfer scheme, which my colleague from Hindustan Petroleum also has been part of. So together, the oil companies had implemented this direct benefit transfer scheme of LPG subsidy to the 30 crore customers. And it was a very successful scheme, Aadhaar-based LPG subsidy transfer, which has become a example for the so many other government departments to transfer subsidy directly to the citizens' accounts. So that was the digital initiative we started in 2015 and successfully done it. And of course, it has been recognized by even Guinness Book of World Records. Similarly, just a few 2 years back, you must have heard about the Prime Minister Ujjwala Yojana. Now, delivering 8 crore connections within 1 year. That was a very stiff target, and other than digital means, there was absolutely no way we could have delivered, oil companies could have delivered, because you have to collect so many papers, photographs, Aadhaar, whatnot, proof of identity, proof of address, and then if there are no digital means, how can you go to villages and collect the papers, come back and do punching and all? So that was another successful digital example. But coming to the COVID period and post-COVID, yes, there has been emphasis on more and more digital and more self-service options. So, of course, the emphasis is on accepting more and more digital payments, enabling more and more avenues for customer experience. So we have opened refill booking through Facebook, Twitter, SMS, IVRS, whatever. But more than that, I will say these are just customer-facing experiences. Indian Oil has also taken the digital transformation very seriously, and we had done a thorough study of the whole organization, all division, refining, pipeline, marketing division, and then we formed the IT strategy 2 years back, which we are in the process of implementing it. And through this special digital transformation project, we are trying to bridge the technology gaps by procuring the right COTS tools, and we are also implementing all the new age technologies like RPA, IoT, AR, VR. But our main focus is on a data management platform, that is, you will call it IoT, I will call it data management platform, because we already had a historian or a SCADA system in our refinery. IoT is just supplementing it. So we already had sensors installed. So this unused data, huge data, real-time data, which has been lying, it's being brought centrally, and then we are using it for ML-assisted analytics, and which is really giving us very, very good results. It could be, if ML is utilized to predict when a heat exchanger is going to foul or going to consume more energy, then I can take it out of service and clean it. Or there are many, many more examples which we have found, and our business only has found out and given us the cases. And then these we are trying to effectively use this digital transformation project to really take IT into the business domain by integrating with OT systems also. This is what primarily I would like to say a little bit about IAC.
Thank you so much, sir. And I must add at this point, right, as an for you and Mr. Chandra, as a consumer of LPG, not as a partner of Deloitte, right? I tell this to a lot of private sector clients that I work with, that learn something from them today. An ability to book a gas over a WhatsApp while I'm on this call. I can't actually book a telecom complaint that I have. I'll have to call, but some of the LPG issues I can deal with it. So absolutely, it's very, I'm very, very delighted to see the kind of progress in digital transformation. I believe even PSUs are making, and I would say in certain sectors, you're ahead of the private sector elements. And if I just see and Kunal, I'll bring you in. Let's just move to the other side of the table. You're somebody who enables, right? Your company enables this digital transformation for various industries. And we heard about collaboration, digital twins, chatbots, right? So many elements there, and there are estimates out there. If you look at Gartner, IDC, any report you pick up, it says cloud, AI, they'll grow over 30% this year. I believe AI is expected to have some $50 billion of revenue. That's going to be the sizing this year, which is going to happen. How are you seeing that as somebody who's enabler in this value chain of digital transformation and organizations, right? What are you seeing across enterprises and sectors, and what is your reaction to what you have heard from the industry CIOs to now?
Sure. So Deepti, firstly, I think I am absolutely thrilled listening to all the distinguished speakers which are on the panel today. Firstly, let me start by saying that we all I think will agree that the world that we live in today has changed, and it has changed possibly forever. And as we is the power of technology, and most importantly, I think it is the human resilience that kind of continues to show us that possibilities are endless and limitless. At Cisco, we are focused on creating solutions that enable resilient and hopefully make a lasting impact, and that's what we are trying to work towards. Secondly, I just want to say that we have a lot of CIOs on the panel today. I have worked very, very closely with CIOs and IT organizations in the last 6 months as we have gone through trying to figure out how to deal with the problems that we were faced with. I have to say that the kind of work in general that has been done by the CIO community, CIOs and their IT teams, is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the kind of ingenuity teams that are involved in solving some of the most complex problems that we had to counter was absolutely phenomenal. And for me, they are the true superheroes in every sense of the word. Now, we spoke about the fact that digital transformation has been accelerated because of COVID. I can tell you that, again, being on the other side of the fence, we used to be a part of a lot of conversations when we spoke about digital transformation or enabling or driving any kind of digital projects or initiatives. The discussion was around, whether we should do it now or whether we should defer it for later. What is happening in the market? What are our competitors doing? How much budget is going to be involved? Maybe we should, defer it for a few quarters down the line or something. Or later, the question that they were asking was, how quickly can you get this up and running? It's not a question of whether we need to do it. The question is, how fast can we get this to our employees, to our customers, into our systems and processes? So I think what was the digital dilemma, sort of what we were before the pandemic, became the digital imperative after the pandemic. And when we look at digital transformation, when we look at digital technologies from a Cisco perspective, there are 2 or 3 areas at a fundamental level that we try to sort of impact and okay, there was some noise coming. So I think one of the most important areas where we try to enhance digital transformation, or the process of digital transformation, is experience. Experience both in terms of employee experience, experience in terms of the customer experience, and for that matter, experience in terms of various aspects of your value chain, whether they are on the supply side or your partner ecosystem side. And that experience is now getting democratized. The need that organizations have is to be able to deliver a consistent experience across the board, whether it's employees, customers, suppliers, partners, where they are, regardless of what kind of a device they are using to access an application. All of that has to be available to them with a consistent level of experience at the touch of one button. Collaboration technologies are at the front and center of this, and making sure that people are able to communicate and collaborate with each other as seamlessly and as effectively as they possibly can is a challenge that not just Cisco, but there are other players in the market also. All of us are collectively trying to overcome, and we are constantly improving. It's not that anybody has reached an ideal state. There is a lot of scope for improvement, but we are constantly sort of trying to work towards understanding what is it that we need to do to make sure that the experience is up to a certain level, and then we can constantly sort of try and improve that. The other thing that again impacts the experience is the overall application delivery. Because of digitization and because of the digital acceleration, we are going to see an exponential number of increase in new age applications, digital native applications, cloud native applications, which, by the way, will have to still coexist with a set of legacy applications which are already there in any organization or enterprises setup, and they will all be talking to each other, with a web of very, very complex APIs. So monitoring the overall performance of that application, both at a head end as well as at a user level, and then doing whatever is required to sort of constantly enhance how that application is delivered over the network and eventually to the end user, is also going to be critically important in ensuring that the end user experience of that application is of the best quality. So that is another area that we are focusing on, in a very big way as far as digitization is concerned. The third point I wanted to emphasize on is around building digital engagement platforms, mostly for customers. I think Alok sir spoke about chatbots and contact centers. I think this is an area where, while contact centers have always been in existence and they will continue to be used very, very extensively, as we are improving, or as we are increasing the interaction that customers will have with these digital platforms, and contact centers will be one way that customers will interact, with whichever organization is sort of is there in the picture. They are going to make calls. They are going to interact on emails. They are going to interact on chat and chatbots and so on. But one of the areas that we are trying to focus on is that how can we make this experience be delivered in such a way that it doesn't give you the experience that you're just interfacing with the technology system, but can we build some empathy into the way in which this experience is being delivered, so that customers will get the feeling that even though they are interacting with a bot, or even though they are interacting, their grievance is being heard, or if they want to know more about a product, they are being understood. And to build that empathy, it's very important for us to be able to build customer context or a customer journey map in real time, and then be able to provide those insights to the people who are taking these decisions, whether they are agents or whether they are the business associates who are sitting at the back end. So for us, that is a very, very important enhancement that we see. The whole customer journey mapping, the whole taking the ability to take live customer feedback, net promoter scores, and so on. And of course, building that real-time customer context and enabling the agents to be able to use that context to deal with customers is, I think, a very, very important aspect of taking that experience that you're delivering to the customer by building some sort of empathy into it. And the last area I would say is automation. I think building automation, whether it is cloud platforms, whether it is the way you are managing your networks, making sure that they are being programmable, making sure that the policies are as seamlessly automated as possible, and overall improving the operational efficiency so that any digital project, which is any digital transformation initiative, which will require a robust network for it to ride on, has to be as up to the mark as possible. So these are some of the areas that I think we can call out where we are and how we are trying to sort of help our customers or add value to what their initiatives might be.
Sure. Thanks, Kunal. And I think you touched on a very important touch point of channel, which is contact centers, right? And on that note, let me bring Mr. Lahiri in. One of the big requirements which has been there across the clients, one channel which was majorly disrupted was contact centers. And this huge requirement, one was just ensuring that it operates business continuity, but the second layer was security. Until date, we hear a lot of customers talking about how will you, they want to have work from home contact centers because that enables lesser cost, but security remains a big concern. Mr. Lahiri, would you want to share with us that, you're at the thick of this, right? How as a CIO, how are you, the areas that you're working on or evolving the whole cyber security and other elements specifically pertaining to contact centers, which are massive. And in India, for any company, not just for Indian companies, but so many international companies, the call centers are here. So your views on how the whole cyber security world is evolving and what changes you have seen in last 6 months, requirements that the clients are pushing.
Yeah, I think you raised a very important point, and contact center is heart and soul of our business. From a BPO perspective, almost I would say 60% of our 50 to 60% of our business comes through contact center, be it global, be it domestic, be it multi-geography contact center. So before the COVID situation, I think we have significantly changed the way that we work compared to the way that we used to work in the pre-COVID scenario. In the pre-COVID scenario, contact center used to be absolutely, in-house, on-premise. Nothing can be on cloud. Nobody can work from home. Be it a contact center on voice or data or whatsoever. I mean, absolute no-no for any client, and primarily for banking client as well. But I would say that the COVID has changed all that bottlenecks, roadblocks, everything. And 100% of our workforce now is working from home on contact center, be voice contact center or data contact center and anything. And security plays a very important role. But more than security, I would talk about cloud. Cloud has played a very, very important role for contact center rollout. And without cloud being there, be it a multi-cloud or a hybrid cloud option that we have, and we are heavily dependent on some of our large cloud partners, be it Cisco, be it AWS, be it Microsoft Azure. We have multi-cloud kind of an environment here. Without cloud, it was not possible to move contact center working from home. So that played a very important role. And while you're talking about cloud, the security part of it was being taken care of by cloud providers themselves, because when it goes to cloud-based contact center, it is a security. The partner, the provider, they take care of it. Of course, we also have our own perimeter security, and we have to be very careful about that as well. As a whole, we have implemented Cisco security for us. We have a very high Cisco house for that matter, and Punan must be aware of it. But having said that, there are other nuances which we have never. There are other challenges which we have never come across earlier. When the client said that, hey, all that is fine, we can move contact center, working from home, all that is fine. But what if somebody takes a photo of a screen at home, or somebody, someone's friend comes and stands in front of the computer, or somebody takes a note, of something which is being shown on the screen. So how do you take care of this kind of a scenario? So we have a solution, security solution, by which if somebody takes so 24 hours in every 1 minute, or not even every 1 minute, every 10 seconds, our security solution can scan whether there is a mobile phone coming in front of the computer, or if there is somebody taking a note or a pen just coming near the computer, or if somebody else other than the person who is supposed to be, if there is a his family, his or her family member or friend or somebody is calling multiple people in front of computer and they are coming, so all this we have a AI based solution in place which by which it will actually trigger that, hey, so if I'm a project lead and I have got about, let's say, 500 people working for me, I would know that that how many times he or she has got the phone, and it is real time. So I will get an alert and immediately I will know that, okay, fair enough. Let's say somebody has got a phone, and I will inquire and do a kind of an audit, maybe at the end of the day, that what happened and what made him to get a phone in front. Anywhere, I mean, any corner of the room, the software will find out if there's a phone like that. And we are also extending it to a level that if, let's say, somebody is accessing, for banking account, if somebody is accessing a bank's clients, addresses or details or whatsoever it is, so the software has the ability to mask those fields automatically. So whatever the agent is supposed to see, he or she would be able to just see that, and balance everything else will be masked on the screen. So those are some of the things that we have done significantly, and that has made us to move 100% of our contact center working from home, and it is going to be like that. But more importantly, there are other things also that we have actually, and I think a lot of panels talked about AI, ML, and robotics and all that. So we have actually incorporated a new solution by which, and in fact, the business is moving very fast. We are almost recruiting 2,000, 2,500 people almost every month sometimes. And in fact, last 2 months has been very, very significant in terms of recruitments, right? So in that, so we have a solution in place by which the AI based recruitment platform by which the chatbot is actually doing the recruitment or interview, the initial screening of people, and that has in fact helped us to improve our recruitment speed to a very large extent. And added to that, providing systems, laptops, in client desktops to our individuals whenever the people are working. Earlier, we used to take months to provide, or maybe sometime weeks to provide, a laptop, desktop once somebody has joined. But now it is matter of days, 2 days, 3 days. If somebody joins, the system fully configured is there in their house. And some of these are developed by BYOD process, by which the employees can buy their own devices and just go and we'll implement everything online. So it has actually changed, everything. To be honest, the almost 90% of our technology IT process has changed over the last 6 months.
Thank you, sir. And if I get Mr. Trivedi now, sir, we heard manufacturing, we heard service, we heard infra. From a mining perspective, again, a very different sector, and as a CIO, and we spoke about customer, we spoke about logistics, supply chain, we spoke about workforce collaboration. Which area has been, a core priority in last 5 months for you and for your business, right? And which do you see in your landscape of a digital transformation or the new age digital requirements would be pivotal, right, on top of the priority for the organization?
Yeah. Thanks, Dipti. So, as you know that Vedanta is in a metals, mining, oil and gas, kind of a natural resource sector, right? So it's basically generally called a traditional sector, like my other colleagues mentioned about. Okay. So first of all, I mean, I agree with your point, which you mentioned earlier, that this kind of a traditional, so-called traditional organization like PSU or even our kind of private thing considered to be like digitally lagging as a perception. But in fact, they are doing much better job than the many of the industries actually right now in terms of digital transformation and leveraging technology. Okay, so like any kind of forward-looking organization, we also believe in leveraging the digital technology in a big way with a lot of trust on innovation. So in line with the industry 4.0 revolution, we already started our digital transformation journey a few years back. And the major focus area for in any case was to how do we digitalize the mind. Okay, we are like transforming, or in fact we have transformed from an open cast mine to a kind of underground operations, which is quite difficult. And when you go to the underground operation completely from the open cast, the cost profile changes, your cost becomes very, very high, and production volume supposed to be little lesser than the earlier one. And the only solution which I mean is to really encounter these and to make sure that profitability is protected and cost is not really going high is leveraging the digital technology. And that was the theme which we started running. And we started with a very, very ambitious program on digitalizing the entire mine. And then the focus was in digital mine, obviously, like using IoT, using kind of autonomous operation, remote control operations. So those kind of technologies to make sure that we not only improve volume and reduce the cost, but also it will help us most importantly to remove the drastically a kind of a man-machine interaction. So from a safety, health and environment perspective also very, very important. So we started with that. So that was already going on even pre-COVID area. Like any organization, like most of the organization when I interact with, a lot of the focus have been in terms of operational efficiency and kind of customer engagement kind of solutions. I think the after COVID area, what changed is basically the purpose of this basically solutions. Now we are talking about more of like how do we respond to a kind of these new norms and create new channels to the market. How do we deploy the new customer engagement models? And when I talk about customer, it's not only about the real customer, but also your own stakeholders, which includes your business partners, employees, all of those things. A lot of focus has come also in terms of how do we use technology to create a new business model itself. And one of the initiative we started was like we really launched and we got a very good feedback from the customer is a digital commerce for metals. Like this is like something like Amazon for the metals kind of stuff, which normally people really can't think of in a traditional industry. So that is there. Another aspect is how do you optimize the digital experience? So that is also one of the things, and create a systems of engagement and those kind of stuff. And Kunal, I think Kunal or Alok, someone mentioned earlier also, like how do we democratize the whole digital solutions, right? So overall, as an organization, we have been working with digital journey for quite some time. Post-COVID, obviously, and I agree that what research you also mentioned that it is accelerated a lot. On the other side, obviously, like cloud computing we talked about, or we talk about good network infrastructure using the kind of technology called SD-WAN, or mobility solutions, which we talk about, or a collaboration platform. That was obviously a kind of you can say that a priority for few months once the COVID hit us. But that was more of a our reaction or response to the kind of an unknown situation has occurred. But we have been investing in that. But what has helped us actually in terms of, and I can say that it's a blessings in disguise in a way. And when you talk about digital dexterity, it's a combination of attitude and skill. So now, like Raju mentioned, some of the collaboration things which we as a CIO technology guys, we drive for an adoption to certain section of the organization. It automatically got kind of an attitude has created that, okay, I will accept myself and I am actually receiving that and I like it and those kind of stuff. And knowingly or unknowingly, skills also has increased actually to really receive those things and embrace those technologies also. So that is there. One important point basically, and obviously as you mentioned, acceleration of digital transformation is actually, I think, at its peak right now as compared to the historical data points. I believe that this is an opportunity for any good organization to invest actually in the digital thing, because when you are at low, this is the best time to invest. You get good resources, you get actually the technologies at the best price, possible price. And that's exactly is an opportunity I see that, and we as organization also, we believe in this philosophy. So I think that is there. So there are 2 points of the thing. One is basically, okay, what is the response we give it to the kind of unknown and unprecedented situation which has occurred. But second is a very long-term thing, what you are trying to do or what you should do. That should not be changed. The fundamental will not change. And that fundamental is basically that how do we embrace the digital technologies for the better business outcomes. So that's exactly my thoughts right now.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Trivedi. And if I just you spoke about the entire value chain. You spoke about mindset, which is a very important part of it in terms of how business and how people. You can bring a technology, but if it is not embraced and adopted, what really happens to it? Now, if I just pick up in terms of some of the things that were spoken about, Kunal mentioned about the app-based elements. There's so many apps that are coming out which need to, continue with the legacy apps now. I'll put a question to both Mr. Chandra as well as Mr. Lahiri. Mr. Chandra, because I know that you have done this, you've embarked this journey at HPCL, and Mr. Lahiri, very important for you because it's a very human-intensive organization, a lot of BPO staff. How are you redesigning the corporate apps and putting your entire operations around that, right? So it's going to be it used to be app-based economy. Now we say it's going to be an app-based organization, right? No more Microsoft Office. It's all going to be apps, and that's how you're going to literally work out of that 6-inch phone. So how have you enabled that within your setup? And also, if you could touch upon the mindset part which Mr. Trivedi spoke about, right? How do you manage that challenge? And after we hear from you, then we'll go to Mr. Lahiri to hear his perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Ricky, again. Yeah, so this was a big challenge. There were any number of internal applications people were used to, fully automated, but it was all on the laptops or on the desktops. Now, in such a quick time, enabling a same experience on a 4-inch or a 6-inch screen was definitely a big challenge. What we actually did around was, it was not possible to deliver everything in a day. We identified what are the applications which will be used more often by more people. As a first step, we put them on the VPN so that at least the immediate productivity is not hampered. And then we took a conscious call of going completely on a responsive design. So sort of recalibrated most of the important applications to work on any screen. Security was a big challenge because again, they were not designed upfront for that kind of security, that kind of data access. So we had to put in a lot of monitoring mechanism around the usage. Of course, in the last 6 months, we have overcome most of those challenges and sort of made them more robust. But this was a very big challenge for us. That an organization which though was very digital in some ways, but it was still a very, very internally digital organization. To enable all the applications was a challenge. Yeah.
All right. Mr. Lahiri, for you, how it's worked specifically from a workforce engagement collaboration with all distributed, you spoke about, and specifically in your sector, this is all young workforce which is used to apps, right? For them, they're the app first generation, really mobile first generation. So how have you enabled this, and what's the thinking of your organization in building this?
So I think that's an interesting question, and we have two kinds of, broadly, if you see, there are two kinds of apps we have. One is client-facing app, and one is internal enterprise apps, right? So the best part was that all our client-facing apps, whatever we had, for our healthcare business or for banking or credit card business, all of them are already cloud-enabled. So therefore, COVID or no COVID, it didn't make any difference for us because they're already developed, implemented, and that was very timely. We migrated most of our client-facing applications last year itself on cloud, and that really helped us. So it was just a matter of people accessing those applications from home rather than from office. But otherwise, the hosting was same, the security was same, everything else was same. And that is why I tell my team that we should always have a cloud first approach. That whatever you have in IT, you should move to cloud so that any other such BCP scenarios can be well taken care of. Coming to the in-house application, I agree with Mr. Chandra, and in fact, we also underwent similar challenges, issues in terms of security, in terms of optimization. There are hundreds of apps, and we have to do a app optimization to see that what is important, what is not important, what need not migrate, and what has to migrate, and all of that. So we are still in the journey. I think we have migrated 40 to 50% of the app again, even enterprise apps on cloud, but still the discussions are going on as to what we should do for the rest, whether we should retain sunset and all of that. So, and also added to that, chatbot and robotics played a very important role for our app modernization. And API, I think somebody talked about. I think I talked about API. That is very important. So all your app should be API based integrated, so that integration becomes much more easier. So I think we're still in the journey. I would not say the journey is complete, but from a client impact, there is no client impact as such because all our client apps are actually cloud based right now.
So, Kunal, you've heard this, and you referred to this app element, but after that, also the the whole cloud strategy which organizations are having, app strategy which organizations are having, the security element that Mr. Larry touched upon, which is while it's very important, yes, from a BPO perspective, but even across other organizations now, with all data and everything being in these distributed workplaces, right? What are the trends you are seeing in this space of security, app-based, and the cloudification of the entire businesses?
Well, quite a few trends, but the one that is very, very prominently visible, and it has come up multiple times in this discussion as well, is the fact that we are definitely seeing a lot of organizations look at migration of either applications to the public cloud and the hyperscaler environment, or using the public clouds as a gateway through VDI or whatever means to access applications on-prem for remote users. So various kinds of different sort of use cases in terms of how public clouds and hyperscalers can be leveraged very, very effectively is becoming a very, very hot subject of discussion right now. And the other thing that is very clear is that nobody is, or most organizations and customers that I have interacted with are not willing to place their eggs, all their eggs in one basket. So which means that they will never partner with only one single public cloud provider. There will always be one or two or three of them. And so in that, in the foreseeable future as this situation evolves. So on one hand, we are seeing which is in some cases already seen the execution stage. In a lot of cases, it is a strategy which is still being put in place. And the way we are approaching this is around enabling our customers and enabling organizations to be ready to first migrate to this multi-cloud environment and then effectively manage this multi-cloud environment, because it's going to be very, very critically important. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Number one, and that's always been our core strength for Cisco, is the fact that environment, you still have to make sure that the network that you are using, whether it is your WAN network, whether it is your corporate office connecting to the cloud, whether it is your branches connecting to the cloud, whether it is your users who are directly, possibly connecting to SaaS-based applications that the users might be consuming, which are cloud delivered. Your network has to be ready for it. Your network has to be aware of the application traffic which is flowing through the network, and your network has to be able to effectively manage that, whether it is quality of experience as it is now being called, or whether it is the whole management of this traffic across various multi-cloud providers. I think that becomes a very critical aspect. Secondly, from an application perspective, as you do this, I think it's very so on one hand, we spoke about application performance monitoring earlier and some of the related areas. But as you look at building a multi-cloud strategy, it is going to be critically important for you to measure how you are performing on that multi-cloud strategy from the point of view of utilizing the infrastructure. And so a lot of customers are talking to us about baselining what the application does in an on-prem environment from a various performance metrics standpoint, including things like infrastructure and workload optimization. And then as they move to different cloud environments, we know that this application is performing better, or say a way to sort of measure that as the migration happens. And then once the migration has happened and you're running this application in multiple cloud environments, and a lot of these different applications are also talking to each other across these multi-clouds at the same time, there is a way to sort of constantly monitor this, create actionable insights, and then you know what is happening in your environment, and if something needs to be done, then you have the insights to be able to do that. And thirdly, when these applications are on-prem, there is a lot of policy automation, there is a lot of operational automation which was already happening as far as application profiling was concerned, as far as application microsegmentation was concerned. Now, all of that has to seamlessly move to the multi-cloud environment. And that has to happen. I mean, we can't reinvent the wheel all over again. If we have created policies on the on-prem environment, we should be able to take those policies, templatize them, and then with one click of a button, we should be able to seamlessly push them across these multi-cloud environments so that there is consistency of policy, and that policy is deployed in the most effective possible. So that again has become a very, very important part of enabling applications to move to the multi-cloud, and I think that's where we are definitely working with our customers very, very closely, and with the public cloud providers and the hyperscalers as well.
Thanks, Kunal. So I think we're coming close to the session, but before we do that, right, I want to bring in Mr. Trivedi, Mr. Khanna, and Mr. Dane, and one question, and common question to all three of you. You're from different industries and different perspectives. Now, as the COVID shock value is fading away, right? As a CIO, do you see that this support that has been there for digital transformation, would it continue, right? What would you need from the businesses, from the executive and from the board support to ensure that the journey and the acceleration that it has picked up, this momentum remains, right? Or do you see any challenge to it with this whole acceptance of COVID and the shock value really going away?
I think, Dipti, like any good organization and the management of those organizations have realized and have a strong belief, I see, that digital is the way going forward, because the whole world is changing. Even let's keep the COVID aside for a time being. In any case, as a industry 4.0, as I mentioned, a lot of disruption is coming in. So everyone is actually forced to relook at or reinvent themselves in terms of the way you behave as a business, okay, or you work as a business. So that kind of support, that kind of backup, and the investment appetite I see from the most of the management. Only this COVID has accelerated actually and really justified that, yeah, this is the way to go. So I don't see much challenge, but the challenge is basically not in that kind of like a management support or investment and those kind of stuff. making the digital transformation and those initiatives successful with a change in the mindset, cultural change, because it has to be, should be in the blood of the organization, should come in the blood. Yeah. And that also requires some kind of not only mindset, but capability building also at the employees and stakeholders as well. So very consistent effort required in that regard. But otherwise, overall, all good.
All right. Okay. Mr. Khanna? Sir, you're on mute.
Oh, okay. Yes. So actually, for digital transformation, as I said, there has been a great support from Indian Oil top management, and it is going to continue. In fact, the COVID experience has even brought realization among many top senior leadership about adopting to digital means quickly, and this has really helped in our fast-tracking the digital transformation project, because we have already lined up so many projects about digital. But what I really want to say is, okay, there could be a different point of view also, that there will be a spate of demand from this thing, business. And what I really feel is that what is really badly needed, what is really going to benefit business, what is going to bring in business benefits in terms of financial or process efficiency benefits, that only must be undertaken. CEO moto efforts, IT efforts in bringing some solution to business, at times they fail. We have tried many solutions during the implementation of DBTL and Ujjwala Yojana and so many other big scale projects. We just finished implementation of our dealer management system and CRM project. We invested a lot of money. But what has been my experience is, the IT team need to sit with business. It has to be identified by business that, okay, this is going to bring me benefit. It must be documented before you go ahead and make investments. And secondly, there is some hype also about some technologies. Because organizations like Indian Oil, we need the technology which has been tested up to a huge scale. I tell you, during the DBTL implementation, our website where people used to enter their Aadhaar or bank account, it used to be flooded. I mean, all our distributors had booked all the internet cafes around the 620 plus districts in the country. And there was a massive rush on our website, and it had to be kept running because of the, of course, ministry instructions. Such is the scale on which sometimes we have to work. Of course, it will come in this part only. So what I'm saying is the technologies which are proven on scale and which can be, they have been proven on implementation, that only can be tried.
Yeah,
That's what is my view.
All right. Thank you, sir. And Mr. Dey, closing comments from you.
Yeah, I think CIOs and business leaders are working much more closely than ever before. Yeah, I think that trend will continue. Yeah, and I don't see going back from there. Like, digital technologies are here to stay. I think everybody will have to embrace. But having said that, I think it's very important, like, the CIOs and the technology leaders, and also the business also will have to demonstrate, a lot of, agility in the way of their working, right? And I think the other panelists has also mentioned, like, the skill building will be very, very important, because some of these technologies will evolve, right? In fact, many of these technologies, what you see, are still not at that mature level, right? Like, so for example, like, everybody is now working from home, right? And where myths have been broken, like, earlier people used to feel like, for so many days, so many months, can you actually work from home? But it's just become real now, right? But what are the challenges? The challenges are, like, if you need to really do a brainstorming, can you do it the way you do it in a physical environment? The answer is still no, right? And then I think, but my sense is, like, the technologies will evolve. You will have a much better collaborative solutions, which will allow you to actually do some kind of a brainstorming when what you do it in a physical environment, and so on and so forth, right? So with the technological evolution, and as well as and with the maturity of those technology evolving over a period of time, I think people will embrace these technologies in a much better way. And that's what I think. From the support point of view, I think management support will continue. I think management understands the importance of digital and the opportunities it offers, right? So I think that will continue. I don't see any challenge there. It's a question of, I think, skill, finding out the right skills to support these initiatives, finding out, I think the other important point, I think the other panelist also has mentioned, right? Earlier days, we used to talk about projects which are 5 months, 6 months, year. I think those days are gone, right? You will actually look for now projects where you will be able to quickly demonstrate benefit. And once the benefits are demonstrated, then actually will scale it up, right? I think people have to be much more agile in their way of thinking. And
Absolutely. So thank you, sir, and thank you everybody. I think these have been great inputs. We touched so many diverse topics and shared insights on what you're doing as organizations. I think from my perspective, what I'm taking is as organizations like yours are starting this, carrying this digital dexterity journey, right? As the DNA becomes more digital, we look at digital FTs, have more bot-to-bot models. I just hope success to organizations, but organizations at the heart, I hope, remain human, healthy, and happy. So thank you everybody for your insights. Anirban, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deepti. Thank you, all the panelists. We've come to a close of the discussion, and we hope to sort of see your participation again soon as we continue to hold the inflection point.